Most people believe that moving into a nursing home is the smart and safe thing to do as you get older. It seems like the right choice: meals prepared, medical help nearby, and no house chores. But what if that choice isn't as perfect as it sounds? What if there are some hidden truths that could make this decision one of your biggest regrets? I learned this the hard way, and now I want to share what I wish someone had told me before I made that move. In this video, I'm going to reveal 3 hidden truths about nursing homes that most brochures and staff will never talk about. These are things that could seriously affect your happiness, your independence, and even your health. I'm not here to scare you, but I want to open your eyes to the full picture, something I never got until it was too late. If you or a loved one is thinking about moving into a nursing home, you need to hear this. So stick around and don't miss a second of this video. If you find this helpful, please like the video and subscribe to our channel for more real talk on aging and elder care. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you or someone you know had a surprising experience with a nursing home? Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation going. Number 1, you think you'll be cared for, but you actually lose control of your life. When I first moved in, I felt a strange kind of relief. No more worrying about cooking meals or cleaning up the house. I thought I had stepped into a new chapter of comfort and peace. Everything was taken care of, and for a brief moment, it felt like I could finally relax. The idea of being looked after seemed comforting, almost like a reward after years of managing everything on my own. But that sense of comfort didn't last long. By the end of the first week, I began to notice how things were different, quietly, subtly, but undeniably. Meals weren't something I could just decide on anymore. They were served at specific times, and if you missed it, you waited until the next one. Showers were something you signed up for, like a slot in a schedule. And if you felt restless at night, there was nothing you could do about it. Lights went out early, and the halls went silent, whether you were ready to sleep or not. What shocked me the most was how quickly I had to start asking for the simplest things. Want to go outside for a breath of fresh air? You needed permission. Want to wear something that wasn't picked out by someone else? Good luck finding it. Even the laundry had a day, and if you missed yours, you had to wait an entire week just to clean your clothes. Slowly, it all started to feel like I was living under someone else's rules, in someone else's world. I didn't expect that losing those small choices would hit me so hard. It wasn't dramatic or loud. It was a quiet kind of loss. Every day chipped away at the freedom I didn't even realize I valued so much. And the more I had to ask before doing something that used to be natural, the more I felt like I wasn't really living. I was just passing time, following rules that weren't mine, in a place that didn't feel like mine either. It changes you, not in one big moment, but in dozens of little ones. You start to feel like a guest in your own life, watching decisions being made around you, but not for you. The care that once felt like a gift begins to feel like a cage, and that spark inside, the one that made you feel free, capable, in control, starts to flicker. Not because anyone is trying to hurt you, but because the system doesn't leave room for you to exist as you were. Number 2, you expect companionship, but you might face crushing loneliness. I thought moving into a care home would be like living in a cozy community. I imagined quiet evenings with movies, sharing stories over cups of tea, and forming new friendships with people who had lived full, fascinating lives. I wanted connection, warmth, and the feeling of being part of something. But the reality turned out to be very different. The halls were quiet, not from peace, but from absence, of laughter, of chatter, of presence. That sense of community I'd hoped for never quite arrived. Most of the people around me were dealing with things I hadn't fully prepared for. Some struggled with memory, often forgetting not just names but faces, and even where they were. Others were lost in their own pain, grief that hung heavy in the air, visible in their faraway stares and slow movements. There were a few who simply didn't want to talk at all. Days would pass without more than a few words exchanged. I'd try starting conversations, but they often ended quickly, like matches flickering out before they really burned. There's a strange kind of loneliness that comes from being surrounded by people but feeling entirely unseen. You can sit in a room full of others and still feel invisible. The woman in the room next to mine hasn't had a single visitor in 6 years. 6 years. That number stayed with me. It made me realize how easy it is for the outside world to forget about you once you're no longer part of their daily life. People mean well, but time moves on for them. For us, it stands still. One of the hardest things to accept is how the people you thought would always be there, family, lifelong friends, start to fade from your everyday world. They still care, I think, but visits become shorter, less frequent, until eventually they're just something squeezed into a schedule. A quick visit, a polite chat, then gone again. You're no longer someone they grow with, just someone they check in on. And every time the door closes behind them, it leaves a little ache that grows harder to ignore. Living here has taught me something I never expected. Being alone isn't always about physical space. It's about connection or the loss of it. I thought I was coming here to be surrounded by others, but instead, I found myself drifting further into silence. It's not that there's no one around, it's that no one truly sees you anymore. And that, more than anything else, is what makes the quiet so hard to bear. Number 3, you think you'll be safe, but care gaps are real and dangerous. Let me tell you something most people don't realize until it's too late. The promise of safety in a nursing home can be misleading. You walk in thinking you or your loved one will be looked after, monitored, and comfortable. But the reality hits fast. These places are often short on staff, and you can feel it in every part of your experience. I remember lying in bed after pressing the call button, waiting and waiting. Nothing. No footsteps, no knock on the door. 45 minutes passed before anyone came. I wasn't alone. This kind of delay wasn't unusual. It was just how things were. The staff themselves weren't the problem. They were kind, tired, doing their best. But when 2 aides are responsible for 30 people, there's only so much they can do. Everyone's needs start to blend together, and no one gets the attention they deserve. I watched as they hustled from room to room, skipping breaks, swallowing stress. They couldn't stop. If someone needed help getting to the bathroom, it meant another person would wait longer for their meds. The pressure never let up. One of the scariest moments I witnessed was when the man in the bed next to me was handed a cup of pills. He looked confused but took them anyway. They weren't his. It happened again 2 weeks later. No one caught it at first. These errors aren't rare. They're part of the environment when staff are stretched too thin. And unless you're wide awake and questioning everything, they'll slip right past you. The worst part is how quietly these things happen. There's no alarm bell, no announcement that something's wrong. People suffer behind closed doors with no one noticing. Families come to visit and see a clean room and a made bed, but they don't see the waits, the mix-ups, the constant sense of falling through the cracks. It's not neglect in the way we usually think about it. It's more like a slow, quiet forgetting of time, of urgency, of the fact that each person there is human. That's the truth no one wants to talk about. Nursing homes aren't dangerous by design, but when the system is overwhelmed, care turns into a guessing game. And if you're the one in the bed, relying on overworked hands and fading attention, the risk becomes your reality. You expect safety. What you get is survival. When the idea of a nursing home first came up, it felt like a practical solution. The brochures showed clean rooms, friendly staff, and the promise of safety. On the surface, it looked like the right move, but behind that polished image was a reality I didn't fully understand until I was living it. The daily routines, the scheduled meals, the quiet halls, they slowly chipped away at my sense of self. What was supposed to bring peace of mind ended up costing me more than I imagined. No one tells you how it feels to lose control over your own day. You don't choose when to eat, when to shower, or sometimes even when to see visitors. The structure that's meant to provide care can end up feeling like a cage. I thought I was trading stress for ease, but I was really giving up small freedoms that meant everything. It's strange how quickly the things that made life feel personal, like making your own cup of tea or going for a walk when you want, start to disappear. Worse still is the loneliness that sneaks in. Even when there are people around, it's not the same as real connection. The staff change often, and it's hard to build trust when you're constantly being cared for by someone new. And other residents, they come and go too. You try to hold on to conversations, to friendships, but the turnover is constant. There's a kind of silence that sets in, one that's louder than any noise. It's not just about being alone. It's about feeling forgotten. Looking back, I wish I had asked better questions before making the decision. Not just whether the place was clean or had activities. I wish I had asked how much to say I would have in my own schedule, how they help people cope with emotional challenges, not just physical ones. I wish I had realized how hard it would be to leave once I got in, how easy it is to be seen as too fragile to go back to independent living, even when you know you're capable. So now I tell my story in hopes it reaches someone standing at that same crossroad. Maybe you're helping a parent decide, or maybe you're thinking about it for yourself. Just know that a comfortable bed doesn't replace freedom, and daily meals don't make up for a lack of choice. You deserve more than being managed. Your life, every part of it, should still feel like yours.